Make the ground shake.
What is up, Spartans? This is JAG, aka Leonidas. I'll be your host, your Jeff Probst, coming at you live from 300. On today's video, I'm going to be showing you 5 tips all Clash Royale players should know to progress through the arenas and get better. So without further ado, let's jump into this. So, just for anyone who has been following us and who is invested, we are at 4,279 trophies. A new season has begun, and I made it to Masters 2 at 49.56. So for the first replay I wanted to show, there are 2 tips, tip 1 and tip 2, that it will encompass and will cover. The first one is going to be learning the card values and how to count elixir. Those are that's the first tip that's crucial if you want to progress. You need to start learning how much they're spending per card. So you're going to need to kind of maybe take a bit of time, learn that, or by playing you'll also learn. And the second one is going, and then the second part is going to be elixir counting. So figuring out how much elixir they spend when dropping cards versus you, and that way you'll kind of be able to guide and determine if you're going to go into the second tip, whether you need to attack or defend. So in this case, what we're going to see is that right there he drops 7 elixir, I know, with the barb hut, so I can drop 4 with the hog, meaning he has 3 max 4 elixir to try and counter at that point, which means I can get at least 2 hits in. And it's just kind of learning that. So at this point I know that he drops the miner, and with my archers and with the skeletons here, you're actually going to see me go equal, and the only difference you'll see between the top and the bottom is going to be mainly due to just time, like me delaying and dropping cards a little after. So here you're going to see the goblin hut go. As soon as he uses that zap, I'm maintaining elixir count. I know that I have about 4 elixir to basically him spending all of it. So this is where you're going to see me drop I'm actually going to pause here. You're going to see me drop the Dark Goblin, and then that's going to basically try and punish him, because he's going to have roughly about 2 elixir to work with. So if he has even those cards, which was unlikely in that case, but it was a possibility, he would still not really be able to defend too much, and I would get a decent amount of attack with the Dark Goblin. So this actually leads into the second tip, which is that kind of a building off of tip 1, which is knowing when to attack and when to defend. So in this case, why I pause it is, if you're going to look at the bottom of my screen where my cards are, I have no cards to attack. It would just be an absolute waste if I drop. So in this case, what you're going to see me do is I'm actually just going to play on the defensive side here, drop the Tesla, and just wait to see what he's going to do at that point, because it'll better allow me to counter later, and actually hopefully engage my tower to help stop whatever attack he's going to push in this case. So here you're going to see me drop Tesla here just to stop the barb hut, because there's no point in me dropping the knight. The log and the fireball would also be a waste. So in this case, I'm just going to let the Tesla defend, stop those barb huts, and at this point a defensive option was my best bet. So here I'm going to then drop the knight, because now I've kind of built up to a bit of elixir. You're going to see him drop at this point the giant, and then we'll go from there. That's really kind of brings into the whole point of knowing when to attack and when to defend, which really builds off the first tip, which is knowing how much elixir is being spent, and by knowing the cards, you know that. So we're going to speed through this at about twice the speed, just for anyone who is invested and wants to see the end of the match go in on this one. And then we'll go into tip 3 and tip 4 for the second replay in this case. And so here what you're going to see is he drops the goblin hut, trying to really stop my hog, any progression on it. In this case, I'm going to know that it's probably going to come down to me fireballing my way through. So at this point, right now, it's more defending whatever he has. I know he's got poison, so he's going to keep trying to take out my Dark Goblin on top of my tower at this point. And my main goal is probably just to fireball, drop a hog, hopefully, and go from there. So that's what I kind of keep doing, try and cycle through, drop the fireball. This deck that I'm using actually has a pretty low elixir count, so it works pretty well as far as cycling through. I think it has a roughly around a 3.0. And that's basically what I'm just going to keep doing, dropping, fireballing, kind of letting go through. I know that I can defend pretty well, especially when I have the hog, fireball, if I can get the barb hut and the tower at the same time. And that's what you're going to see here. A little bit of counter, drop the hog at this point, fireball's going to go in and do damage, and that's going to give me enough where I'm just within 1 fireball range to finish off this opponent and the match as well. And you're going to see that drop in about 5 seconds here. And 3, 2, 1, boom. Okay, so wanted to finish this off, go into the next replay, starting off with tip 3. So if it just lets me hit OK, because my computer's pretty slow. So the third tip is actually going to I'm going to actually start probably just explaining the fourth tip a little bit instead of going right into the third tip. So the second replay we see here is with tip 4, which I'll explain a little early, is just knowing your win conditions and how to exploit them. So knowing your win conditions is basically knowing how you can win, how you can do damage to the other tower. So in this case, really it comes down to 3 things with this deck that I'm using. It's going to be the Hog, the Furnace, or the Fireball, and those are my main 3. So let's go into this, and then we'll go with tip 3 and then explain tip 4 a little bit as well. So jumping into this, come on, there we go. Alrighty, so once my laptop comes back to current times, so right here what we're going to see is matching, tip 3, matching counter cards. So you're going to take a little bit of time to know what cards they have, what decks they have, and what cards are best on your side to counter them. So in this case, I know as soon as I see that Goblin Barrel, I have really 2 ways to stop it, which is my Archers and my Skeleton, or I can just use the Log, and I'm going to opt for the Log. So basically what tip 2 or tip 3 comes down to, matching counter cards, is knowing what cards to use against their cards and making sure you always have them in this case. So I know that with the Princess, it's kind of a bait where he's trying to get me to use the Log against it, but in this case I'm not going to. Same thing with the Skeleton, or the Tombstone, sorry. I'm not going to use the Log in this case. I'm going to save it for the Goblin Barrel, because then I take out one of his win conditions. No matter what, he will never be able to use it because I'll always have the Log, and I'm going to be actually getting 1 elixir advantage on every time. So this basically comes into tip 3. Tip 4, as you're going to see, the Log drops right here. Tip 4, like I said earlier, is knowing your win conditions and knowing how to exploit them. So in this case, I know that I have my Hog, I have my Furnace, and my Fireball. Those are how I can get my damage against their towers and how to exploit it. So in this case, you're going to see me drop the Goblin. You can see me drop a little bit of the Skeletons there, just kind of to delay a little bit. I'm going to take a bit of damage, but now you're going to see me drop the Hog right about... Oh, no, I guess I'm letting it die. It's probably a better move anyways. So at one point, you're going to see that, or I'm going to notice that basically he's matching his counter card, which is the Tombstone, for my Hog, because it's going to stop any attack I do with that. So basically what I'm going to do is try and do 2 things. I'm going to set up the Furnace so I can try and get some damage in that way. And the second one's going to be with Fireball, where I'm noticing that I'm just going to basically be able to do a Fireball match and just try and cycle through and finish it that way and just do some direct damage. In this case, I was fortunate enough that he screwed up with the Tombstone, got a little bit of hits there. You're going to see me again drop the Log, counter it, and as you see, not too much damage so far. I mean, 2,300 on my side to the 1,000 on his. So if you can really kind of combine these 4 tips, it's really going to advance your game, give you a little bit more advantage. And that's why I was trying to put the Furnace, because I know that I'm going to at least be able to potentially take out the Tombstone, or maybe I can overload them, especially when it gets into overtime. I can start dropping multiple Furnaces and then potentially go from there. So in this case, I dropped the Log a little early just because I know that I'm at 663 damage or tower health on their side. So I'm pretty close, and I can probably Fireball cycle. And also I know that I had the Archers backed up, that I was able to stop the Gob Barrel there. So as you're going to see, I'm just going to be Fireballing. And I actually was even fortunate enough to get the Hog with a final hit, which didn't really matter at this point. And as you can see, opponent just gave up, and that was the end of it. So we'll finish off here, just rush through that. And this is actually going to bring into tip 5 at the end, which isn't mainly anything you need to actively think of, but it's something that I thought was beneficial and that I noticed from an early time when playing at low arenas that really helps, and that's play with no distractions. If you're in an area where you have maybe family talking to you, or anything along the lines of that, distractions, even if it's a minor one, especially when you get up to higher arenas, a one mistake game, like we actually just saw there where he misplaced his Tombstone and my Hog took like 4 hits or around that on his tower, that can be the end of the game just there. If he properly placed this Tombstone, it would have been much harder. I probably would have had to go near the end of overtime and probably had to Fireball cycle to win that if I would have won that. So just one little mistake can make a big difference. So my 5th and final tip is play with no distractions. So hopefully, guys, you liked that, you enjoyed that. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button as well. Make sure to subscribe for future videos or see any of the other ones I currently have. And that's going to be it. This is going to be Leonidas signing off. Peace out.